5 hidden lies narcissists tell everyone, and I want to start with the word hidden because it is doing something specific in this title that separates what this episode is about from the obvious, well-documented deceptions that most content about narcissists covers. The obvious lies are not what we are here to discuss. The obvious lies are the ones that most people who have spent significant time in proximity to a narcissist eventually identify. The exaggerations of achievement, the distortions of what actually happened in specific situations, the selective memory that conveniently edits out the parts of events that would implicate the narcissist's behavior as the primary cause of the difficulty. Those lies are real and they are harmful, and they deserve the attention they receive. But they are not hidden in the sense this episode is pointing at. They are lies about specific content, about what happened, about what was said, about what was done and by whom and why. The hidden lies are different in kind. They are not lies about specific content. They are lies about fundamental reality, about the basic operating principles of what the narcissist is, how they function, what motivates them, and what the relationship with them actually consists of, at the level that determines everything else. These are the lies that most people never fully identify even after years of experiencing their effects, because they are not delivered as statements that can be fact-checked. They are delivered as the invisible architecture of the relationship itself, as the assumptions the relationship is built on, as the frame through which everything that happens inside the relationship is interpreted. And because they operate at the level of the frame rather than the level of the content, they shape the experience of the relationship without ever being visible as the deceptions they actually are, until now. Because by the end of this episode, you are going to be able to see the frame. And once you can see the frame, the entire relationship looks different. Everything that was confusing becomes legible. Everything that seemed like your problem becomes identifiable as the specific consequence of a specific lie. And that legibility is the most practically useful thing this conversation can produce. So stay with me, because what we are about to examine is the foundation of everything the narcissistic dynamic was built on. And foundations, once clearly seen, can finally be addressed. Let's start with why these lies are hidden in the specific sense this episode is using the word, because the explanation is not that the narcissist is extraordinarily clever, or that the lies are extraordinarily subtle. The explanation is considerably more psychologically interesting than either of those accounts. The lies are hidden because in most cases the narcissist genuinely does not know they are telling them. This is the part that most people who have been significantly harmed by a narcissist find most difficult to absorb, because it seems to reduce the accountability. If the narcissist does not know they are lying, how can they be held responsible for the effects of the lies? But the absence of conscious awareness does not reduce the harm. And understanding that the lies are not consciously constructed deceptions, but are instead the sincere expressions of a psychology that has developed around a specific set of distortions about itself and the world, is not about excusing the narcissist. It is about understanding the mechanism accurately, because the mechanism is what produces the specific, consistent, pattern-level quality of the lying that makes it so specifically damaging and so specifically difficult to identify and resist. The narcissist who is consciously lying can be caught in the lie through sufficient evidence. The narcissist who genuinely believes the lie is producing something that is considerably more difficult to navigate because the usual tools for identifying deception, the inconsistencies, the nervousness, the quality of someone managing a constructed version of events, are not reliably present. The lie is delivered with the full conviction of someone who experiences it as truth. And conviction, in the context of a relationship where the other person's reality is already being systematically managed, is one of the most specifically powerful forms of deception available. The first hidden lie is the one that operates most foundationally and that produces the most comprehensive damage to the person who absorbs it over time. It is the lie that the narcissist is genuinely interested in you as a person, not interested in your supply, not interested in the specific regulatory resource your particular qualities provide to the construction's functioning, genuinely, personally, specifically interested in you, your inner life, your genuine experience, your actual feelings about things, the particular way your mind works, and the specific perspective you bring to the world. The relationship presents itself as being organized around this genuine interest. The love bombing phase delivers it with extraordinary conviction. The attentiveness, the apparent depth of understanding, the quality of being seen and known, and specifically met by someone whose interest in you feels categorically different from anything you have previously encountered. All of this is the first hidden lie in its most potent form. And the lie is hidden not because the narcissist is consciously performing interest they do not feel, but because the narcissist genuinely experiences something in the early phase of a significant supply relationship that functions like interest, that produces in them a quality of attention and engagement that feels, from the inside, like genuine personal interest. The distinction, and it is a distinction that takes the full arc of the relationship to make visible, is between interest in you as the specific source of the specific supply you provide, and interest in you as a person whose existence has value independent of what your existence provides to the narcissist's functioning. The first kind of interest is real, the second kind is the lie, and the lie is that the first kind is the second kind, that the attentiveness is personal rather than instrumental, that the understanding is genuine rather than mapped, that the relationship is organized around you rather than around what you provide. This lie, absorbed early and reinforced through the relationship's functioning, produces the specific, devastating quality of the devaluation phase's impact when it arrives. Because the devaluation is not just painful, it is specifically confusing in the way that only the revelation of a lie that was previously experienced as truth can be confusing. The person who understood the relationship as being genuinely about them, because that is what the first hidden lie communicated, encounters the devaluation as a specific, inexplicable contradiction. How can someone who was so genuinely interested become so specifically dismissive? The answer is that the interest was never of the kind that precludes the dismissal. But the first hidden lie prevented that answer from being available until the devaluation made the question unavoidable. The second hidden lie is the one that most directly shapes the dynamic's day-to-day functioning, and the one whose effects are most continuously present in the experience of the person in the relationship. It is the lie that the narcissist's emotional responses are reactions to what you do. That when the narcissist is cold, it is because of something you did that produced the coldness. That when the warmth returns, it is because of something you did that deserved the return of warmth. That the narcissist's emotional weather is organized around your behavior, and that your behavior is therefore the primary lever through which the relationship's atmosphere can be managed. This lie is hidden inside what presents itself as ordinary relational reality, the natural human understanding that our behavior affects the people around us, and that their emotional responses to us carry information about how we are behaving. In a healthy relationship, this is genuinely true. The other person's emotional responses are genuinely organized around what is happening between you and carry genuinely useful information about the relationship's dynamics. In the narcissistic relationship, the same surface reality, the narcissist's emotional responses appearing to be organized around your behavior, contains the hidden lie. The narcissist's emotional responses are not primarily organized around your behavior. They are primarily organized around the narcissist's internal supply economics, around whether the supply is flowing at the level the construction requires, around whether the anxiety that the construction is managing is below or above the threshold that the available supply is keeping it at. Your behavior is relevant to this internal economy in the specific sense that your behavior influences the supply flow. But the narcissist's emotional weather is not a report on your behavior. It is a report on the construction's internal state. And the person who absorbs the second hidden lie, who organizes their behavior around the project of producing the narcissist's warmth and avoiding the narcissist's coldness, is engaged in a project whose rules keep changing, not because their behavior is insufficient, but because the internal economy the responses are actually reporting on is not stably organized around anything the person can reliably produce. The project is impossible not because the person is inadequate, but because the second hidden lie has them solving the wrong problem. They are trying to manage a weather system by changing their own behavior when the weather system is being generated by an internal climate that their behavior influences but does not control. And the specific, exhausting, self-eroding quality of trying to solve the wrong problem for long enough, that exhaustion is one of the most specific and most consistent effects of the second hidden lie in the lives of the people who absorb it. The third hidden lie is the one that is most specifically organized around the relationship's power structure, and the one that produces the most directly damaging effect on the other person's sense of their own worth and their own reality. It is the lie that the narcissist's assessment of you is accurate. That when the narcissist says you are too sensitive, the assessment is a genuine observation about your sensitivity rather than a management tool being deployed to prevent your accurate perception from producing the accountability that accurate perception would require. That when the narcissist says you are overreacting, the assessment is an honest report on the proportionality of your response rather than a specific maneuver designed to replace your reality with a version of reality in which the narcissist's behavior does not require examination. That when the narcissist says, "You are the problem," in the specific, consistent, pattern-level way that the narcissistic relationship always eventually produces the other person as the primary location of the difficulty, that assessment is a genuine analysis of the situation rather than the construction's most efficient method for rooting the conversation away from the accountability that the situation is approaching. The third hidden lie is the lie that the narcissist's assessments of you are information about you rather than tools being deployed in the service of the construction's functioning. And because the assessments are delivered with the conviction of someone who genuinely believes them, the third hidden lie, like the first two, is not consciously constructed. They land in the person receiving them with the specific weight of something that is sincerely meant. And sincere assessment from someone whose opinion matters to you, from someone who is in intimate proximity to your actual behavior and therefore might plausibly have accurate information about your patterns and your failings, is extraordinarily difficult to simply dismiss. It requires the specific counterpressure of your own clear self-knowledge to hold against the sincere assessment's weight. And the third hidden lie is most effective precisely in the people whose self-knowledge has been most thoroughly eroded by the first and second hidden lies. Because the person who has absorbed the lie that the relationship is genuinely about them and the lie that their behavior is what is producing the narcissist's responses has already been moved significantly away from the stable self-knowledge that would allow them to hold the third hidden lies assessments at the distance they deserve. And the fourth and fifth hidden lies, which are the most sophisticated of the five, and the ones that operate at the deepest level of the relationship's architecture, and the specific way all five of them work together to create the complete structure of the narcissistic dynamic's most powerful and most hidden deception. That is exactly where we are going next. The fourth hidden lie is the one that operates most specifically on the relationship's future and that produces the most prolonged and most costly form of the dynamic's damage. It is the lie that change is coming. Not the explicit promise of change necessarily, though that is one of its forms, but the broader, more pervasive, more structurally embedded suggestion that what is currently difficult is temporary. that the coldness is a phase, that the devaluation is a response to specific circumstances that will resolve, that the person who was present in the love bombing phase is the real person, and the person who is present in the devaluation is a temporary version produced by stress or circumstance or the specific difficulty of this period, rather than the accurate expression of who the narcissist actually is in a relationship that has moved past the supply generation phase into the supply extraction phase. This lie is hidden inside the intermittent reinforcement cycle, the specific, powerful, neurologically significant pattern of unpredictable warmth and coldness that the narcissistic relationship produces, and that the research on conditioning consistently identifies as the most adhesive form of behavioral reinforcement available. The warmth that arrives after the coldness is received not simply as warmth, but as evidence. Evidence that the real person is still there, that the coldness was not the truth, that the relationship contains what the love bombing suggested it contained, and that the devaluation was the aberration rather than the revelation. The fourth hidden lie is embedded in the warmth's apparent confirmation of this evidence. The warmth says, implicitly, without words, through the specific quality of its arrival after the coldness, this is who I really am. What preceded this was not the real me. Wait for this version is coming back. And the person who has absorbed this lie organizes their relational investment around waiting, around managing the coldness until the warmth returns, around the specific, exhausting, hope-organized project of sustaining the relationship through the difficult periods in the faith, that the genuinely loving version is the real version, and the genuinely harmful version is the temporary aberration. The lie is that this faith is warranted, that the warmth is the truth and the coldness is the exception. The actual relationship between warmth and coldness in the narcissistic dynamic is the reverse of what the fourth hidden lie communicates. The coldness is the ordinary state. The warmth is the supply-seeking activation, the specific, purposeful, construction-driven production of the relational quality that will restore the supply flow when the supply flow has been disrupted by the coldness having pushed the other person to the edge of leaving. The warmth is not who the narcissist really is. The warmth is what the narcissist's construction produces when it needs something from you. And the fourth hidden lie, that the warmth is the truth, is the specific deception that keeps people inside the dynamic long past the point where the evidence of the coldness's consistency would otherwise have made the leaving feel necessary. The fifth hidden lie is the most sophisticated and the most comprehensive of the five, and it is the one that contains elements of all four of the previous lies, while operating at a level that is more foundational than any of them individually. It is the lie that the relationship's difficulties are a shared problem, that what is hard between you is the product of the dynamic between two people, rather than the product of one person's psychology operating on another person, that the conflicts are genuine conflicts, genuine disagreements between two people with genuine perspectives that deserve genuine negotiation, rather than the construction's management of situations that threaten its functioning, deploying the specific tools the threat management system has available. This lie is hidden inside the language of relationship, the language of we and us and between us, that the narcissistic relationship borrows from the vocabulary of genuine partnership to describe something that is structurally different from genuine partnership. In genuine partnership, the difficulties are genuinely shared. Both people's psychology contributes to what is hard. Both people's patterns intersect with and amplify each other's in ways that produce difficulties neither would produce independently. The work of the relationship is genuinely the work of two people on a genuinely shared problem. In the narcissistic relationship, the fifth hidden lie borrows this structure, presents the difficulties as shared, uses the language of mutual responsibility, deploys the framing of two people working on something together, while the actual structure is something else entirely. The actual structure is one person's psychology operating on another person, and the language of sharing is the most effective available disguise for that operation. Because the person who believes the fifth hidden lie, who genuinely understands the relationship's difficulties as a shared problem that both people need to work on, brings their genuine good faith to the project of the shared work. They examine their own contribution. They take responsibility for their patterns. They bring the specific, earnest, self-examining quality of someone who genuinely wants to understand what they are contributing to the difficulty and genuinely wants to change it. And all of that genuine good faith, all of that earnest self-examination, all of that willingness to take responsibility for their part, all of it is absorbed into the narcissist's construction's functioning as supply, as confirmation that the other person is engaged, is invested, is working on the relationship, which means the supply flow is stable, which means the construction can continue its ordinary operation. The fifth hidden lie is the most comprehensive because it converts the other person's most genuine relational qualities, their good faith, their self-awareness, their willingness to do the work, into the fuel that sustains the dynamic that is harming them. So what do all 5 hidden lies together produce in the person who has been inside a relationship that was built on them? What is the cumulative effect of absorbing, across months or years, the lie that the relationship is genuinely about you? The lie that the narcissist's responses are organized around your behavior? The lie that the narcissist's assessments of you are accurate? The lie that change is coming? And the lie that the relationship's difficulties are a shared problem? The cumulative effect is a specific structured alteration of the person's relationship with their own reality. Not dramatic. Not the obvious disorientation of someone who knows they have been deceived. The quiet, accumulated, specifically targeted erosion of the person's trust in their own perception, their own judgment, their own assessment of what is happening and why and what it means. The 5 hidden lies work together to produce someone who is increasingly organized around an external reference point. The narcissist's assessment, the narcissist's responses, the narcissist's framing of the relationship's difficulties, rather than around their own genuine internal experience. And a person who is organized around an external reference point for their understanding of reality is a person who is extraordinarily difficult for themselves to help, because the tool they would need to help themselves, their own clear perception and their own reliable judgment, is precisely the tool the 5 hidden lies have been systematically compromising. Understanding the 5 lies does not immediately restore what the lies eroded. That restoration takes time and takes the specific sustained work of rebuilding the internal reference point that the lies displaced. But understanding them does something that is the necessary precondition for the restoration. It makes the invisible architecture visible. The frame becomes seeable. And once the frame is seeable, the content that the frame was organizing, the confusion, the self-doubt, the specific exhaustion of trying to solve the wrong problems with insufficient tools in a relationship whose actual structure was never what it presented itself as being, all of that content looks different. Not immediately easier, but different in the specific way that things look different when the distorting lens is finally identified and removed. The confusion reveals itself as the natural consequence of being inside a system organized around 5 foundational deceptions. The self-doubt reveals itself as the specific, predictable result of having your reality consistently managed by someone whose management served their functioning at the expense of your clarity. The exhaustion reveals itself as what happens when you bring genuine good faith to a project that was never designed to honor it. None of it was your failing. All of it was the 5 hidden lies doing what 5 foundational deceptions do when they are absorbed completely and held without the framework that would make them seeable. You are seeing them now, and the seeing, however late it arrives, is the beginning of the only thing that was ever going to actually help.